This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and this is part 2 of the series to help county auditors and staff that are working in the Department of Management's valuation system to administer tax increment financing. In particular, this part 2 segment will talk about how to set up TIF districts in the system. So if you have a situation where you need to add new tax districts that are TIF related into the valuation system, of course, the first thing you'll need to do is to log into the system. And you do that by going to the county resource page and going to the button that says Submit Valuations, Budget, and AFR. Of course, you will log into the system using your same Enterprise A&A account ID. And keep in mind, the reason why you would be creating the new TIF districts, they're created first when TIF is first added to the system. So the first time that you as a county auditor are alerted that a TIF authority in your county is going to be dividing revenue for TIF. So at that point, you must add your tax increment financing tax districts. There may be more than one tax district, right? Within an area, you're going to have the original TIF taxing districts that are required to accommodate property with different levy rates. So say their TIF ordinance describes an area that includes tax districts served by different schools. So you have different tax districts for that area. So you have different also TIF districts for that area. Or if you have if it's in a city and you have your regular city districts, but the TIF also extends into city ag districts. As that exists, you have different tax districts currently, so you're going to have different TIF districts currently. You also need to be sure to add tax increment districts for each year that the area was amended. So if the area exists for a few years and then they go in and amend it and add property, then you're going to have new tax districts that represent the valuation in that newly added or amended piece. And occasionally you might have taxing districts that are created for the purposes of segregating out increments for rebate agreements. That would be sort of a local decision for you guys on administering if you're going to divide up your tax districts in that way to specifically administer for rebate agreements. When you create TIF in the valuation system, there must be a unique base taxing district associated with every TIF increment taxing district, and vice versa, a unique increment district associated with every base taxing district. Increment districts cannot share base districts. Base districts cannot share increment districts. It's always a one-to-one relationship. You're going to have a base and increment district, one base, one increment district paired together. And you're always going to want to give those base and increment taxing districts sequential state taxing district numbers, with the base district created and numbered first. And actually in our system, when you do that, when you sort of walk through the wizard, it's going to number it in that manner for you. But keep in mind that that's just a good way to keep those relationships clear when you're looking at your tax district list if the base and increment are paired together numerically. And as I mentioned too, each time a TIF area is amended, there's property added into that area that's going to generate the TIF revenue. You have to add additional base and increment taxing districts for segregating out that new group of parcels that have different frozen base years. So just keep that in mind too. You have an existing area, 5 years down the road, it's amended. That amendment is going to trigger for you the need to add new base and increment districts to represent that amended area. If a TIF area crosses taxing district lines, you do need to create multiple TIF base and increment districts to associate with the area. Just like I was saying before, you could have an area that includes regular city value, but then also ag value. As that exists now in the system, you have separate taxing districts for the regular city value and the ag value because there's different rates. So you'd, therefore have to have TIF districts, TIF taxing districts that are representing the regular taxing district and the city ag taxing district value. So just keep that in mind whenever you're having to create new districts in the system. We do ask that you use uniform naming conventions with the name of the TIF area followed by TIF base or TIF increment at the end of the taxing district names. And this is just to create some uniformity when looking at taxing district lists. It helps create some better understanding when looking at those to know exactly which is the base, which is the increment, and like I said, uniformity. So for example, if you have a city district, you have Anamosa City, Anamosa School, Anamosa East, say East is the name of the project or the area, and then you end it with TIF base. For the increment, it would be the same, but you end it with TIF increment, INCREMEM or INC, that doesn't really matter, but just clearly identify TIF increment at the end. And so when you have districts that represent amendments to the area, I do suggest you also include in the name of the taxing district information that would represent the amendment year and the word amendment. Again, this is just, for information purposes, this really helps. You can look at your tax district list and know exactly which are TIF related, which of those TIF related taxing districts are base and which are increment, and then also what project or area are they associated with, and are they an amendment to an area? It just provides a good level of understanding. So when you're creating TIF districts, the online system will associate for you the levy authorities that are found within the parent taxing district that you select when you create a TIF-based district. So when you create a TIF-based district, you're going to have to tell the system, okay, this is the area that this taxing district, this is the taxing district within which this TIF is happening. So that way the system then knows that you need to associate the base district levy authorities that are authorized to levy for that area, and then an increment which are authorized to levy for debt service. The system will do sort of that work for you, but it does it by knowing which parent district or where is this actually happening currently. So to start the process to add a TIF district, you're going to go into tax districts on the left-hand navigation, and at the top you'll see an option to add tax district. But before you actually kind of go into the system and start doing the work, you do need to know the following pieces of information. You'll want to have those with you. You need to know the frozen base year. You need to know the frozen base amount. You need to know the parent, as I mentioned, of the TIF taxing district. Where is this TIF actually occurring? Which, existing tax district is this actually occurring in? You need to know the type of TIF. Is this a city TIF? Is this a county TIF? Is this a rural improvement zone? Like, who is doing this TIF? And the receiving TIF authority. So specifically, which entity is authorizing the TIF? And also receiving the TIF revenue. So if we select add a tax district, you'll start through the process of walking through the wizard to create the TIF base and increment taxing district. And you're going to say next. And you're going to enter the basic information. So you're going to enter the tax district number, and this is going to be populated for you based on the next available number. This is an editable field, so you can change that number if you would need to, but we do suggest that you select a number that is the next sequential available number in your tax district list. And then you'll enter the tax district name, and if you're not sure about the name, go back and take a look at the instructions for the uniform naming conventions. In this example, we do test city, test school, new project, and then we end it with TIF base because first we're going to create the TIF base. Property type in this example is urban, and we're going to do next. So city information, this is where you're going to indicate whether or not this is a city ag district or a city exempt district. In the example that we're walking through, we're going to say it's neither, so you do next. TIF information, yes, we're going to create this tax district that's a TIF tax district. So you're going to want to select the button that indicates TIF related and do next. So this is where you're going to enter information related to the TIF itself. You're going to want to enter the frozen base year, the frozen base amount, and the parent of the base. Where is this actually happening, within the TIF authority? and then you're going to do next. So that was the base information, right? So walking through these steps, we created the basic information. Yes, it's TIF. We entered the TIF base tax district information. Now we're going to enter the TIF increment taxing information. And again, this should populate the next available number for you. You're going to enter the name, which should be just like your base district name, but you end it with TIF increment or INC, whatever works. And then what is the area type? So who is doing this? Is it a city urban renewal? Is it a county urban renewal? Is it a rural improvement zone where it's a recreational lake district? And in a lot of instances, it's going to be a city urban renewal or a county urban renewal. So in this case, it is a city urban renewal. The city is the one that's doing the TIF, so indicate city, and then it'll populate for you in the drop down the list of cities within your county, and you select the receiving authority or who's actually doing this and getting the TIF revenue, select them from the drop down list and do next. So this is going to then lead you to a review stage where you can take a good look at the information as presented. It's going to list the base information that you entered. It's going to list the increment information that you entered. So please take the time, take a look at this. Make sure it's exactly how you want it to be before you do create. If it doesn't look right, just simply do cancel. It'll start the process over for you and you can work back through it. It's relatively quick, so hopefully it doesn't take you too long, but before you do create, please take the time to review the information and make sure it looks correct. So you do create, and then it's going to, excuse me, just summarize for you the districts that were created and, the number, the names, etc., and then you just do finish. So that's how you create a tax district base and increment pair for TIF administration in the property valuation system. If you have any questions, though, please feel free to contact me at any time. Thank you.